Well, let's start with this very one on the health sector, because the largest workforce in the sector, that is the health sector, is frustrated with their working conditions.
Most of them have not been paid for almost 2 years. Daniel Adamfo is one of them. He says life has been unbearable. He's been working for 2.5 years, but for the past year and 2 months has not received a salary.
We came out of school 2012, posted 2013, May, and unfortunately our appointment letters didn't come early. We had an appointment letter in 2012, March. So we worked over a year before the appointment letter came. And that we have to wait for another 6 months before we had our first salary. So in calculating every month, we had about almost 1.5 years before the salary came, and even that we had only 3 months. And this, before we came to our various stations, we had to look for money from people, our family had to support us. Some people have to borrow money from even banks before they can be able to rent and have a good shelter. Yeah.
And how has this affected you? I mean, you go to work every day, you rent accommodation. How have you managed?
I would like to tell this story to the whole country that it wasn't an easy thing, because during those calls, I even lost my father, and I was not on salary. I had to make sure my dad is buried, and it was very, very horrible. Before that time, waiting for about 1.5 years before I took the 3-month salary. If my mom doesn't send me 10 cedis or 5 cedis, I don't eat. Sometimes its friends have to call you and say, "Oh, you are slimming down. Why are you going lean? Why are you very calm? What is wrong?" And when you tell the story, they end up giving you something. And this is very true. And some people have terrible stories than mine.
What sort of effect has this had on your work?
Well, as a person, I don't have a good record as in working because of this problem. Because sometimes when you go to work and you're hungry, you have to leave work. And sometimes because you don't have money to eat before you go to work, you look very dull.
How many months' salary haven't you received?
Yeah, government owes me about over 10 months' salary.
How long have you been working as a nurse for?
I've been working as a nurse since April 2013. And I was paid my first salary in June 2014. I have to fall on relatives and friends at times, and that respect you have to earn from your colleagues and family as a worker has died down, in that you always go to them for money. They know you are working, but you are always walking up to them for money, and that makes you unable to express yourself or to be able to lift up your head and walk in town, because when you are passing, or that is in passing, you understand. So it's been very, very devastating. Psychologically, you are not motivated to do the work, because you get to work and you are thinking about what will happen when you get to the house. Somebody has come to look for you because you are owing the person. You understand. It also gets, for instance, as I'm speaking to you, I don't take breakfast because I don't have the funds to get breakfast, get lunch and dinner. So when I get a meal in a day, it's good for me to go.
And that very interview was by Ifra Kwan Harrison speaking to the first gentleman, Mr. Damfo, and his friend. They are all nurses, by the way, haven't been paid for over 2 years now. As a result, they are on strike. And this very issue will be the subject of discussion on my banner. And Maravi also will try and do a lot more justice to the subject.
You know, first there was the psychiatric nurses, and then now, the psychiatric nurses went on strike, and things came out of that. Labor and Employment Minister, even though he gave them assurances and couldn't meet the deadline, did also threaten that if they didn't go back to work, they would not be paid for the month that they are on a strike. I'm interested in knowing if the same will be said about this bigger group of nurses, because they haven't been paid for such a long time. Because
these are the general practitioners, so to speak, who haven't been paid.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. Now let's turn our attention to politics, because a constituency office of the Ayawaso Central ruling NDC has been vandalized.
The constituency chairman confirmed the incident to Joy News.
The landlady called me around 11 p.m. and told me that she heard an unusual noise. When she came out, she found out that the glasses that are in front of the office had been broken. And that was all. She found out that 3 persons were involved in this act. She saw them coming down from the office and they sped off on a motorbike. And that was all that she told me. So I also came up to look at the situation and went with her to the Kotoa police station to make a formal report to the police.
Do you have any idea why anyone would want to trash your office?
Well, I don't have any idea. I am scandalized. I am yet to go into why somebody may want to do this. I'm very scandalized.
What's the relationship like in this area, you and some of the youth here? Do you believe it could it be someone in the community, or you think it's some outside person?
Well, we have the NDC intra-party issues. We have the inter-party issues as well. So for now, you can't lay your hands on any of these two that may have caused this situation.
But you guys relate well with the community folk?
We do. As new executives, we have tried to reach out to almost everybody. Tomorrow we'll meet the commander at the police station and we'll put the whole place in order again. We have reported to the regional party. We are yet to hear from them. So from Monday, we'll continue with official administrative duties here.
We'll turn our attention to education, and Deputy Minister of Education in charge of tertiary has charged Ghanaian journalists to challenge the status quo by pushing boundaries to hold leadership accountable in order to help fight corruption in the country.
Samuel Okujato-Ablakwa was speaking on behalf of the President at the inauguration of the Komla Dumont Center for Broadcast Journalism here in Accra to honor the late Ghanaian international broadcaster.
British High Commissioner for his remarks. We endorse all those remarks. We want to encourage our journalists in Ghana to push the boundaries. What is happening in our country today, that we have been ranked second in Africa, just a few points after Namibia, by the international agency Reporters Without Borders that puts together the World Press Freedom Index. That we live in a country that you can have a journalist shake the foundations of this nation, the foundations of our judiciary, and the state is seen visibly protecting that journalist. We all have to be proud of that, that the police and the state is protecting that journalist. And we are being celebrated all over the world that we respect journalists, we do not hound journalists, we do not attack journalists. That when journalists do groundbreaking work and even seek to criticize the state or shake a very important arm of government, we are seen celebrating the journalists and saying that the bad nuts, no matter how powerful they are, they ought to be exposed and they ought to be dealt with.
Some fishermen in the central region are calling on government to conduct an investigation into the old National Premix Committee and the London Beach Committees that were responsible for the sale and distribution of premix fuel to fishermen across the country.
And according to the fishermen, many of these committees at the London beaches for over the last 2 years have not accounted to the fishermen in those localized areas, contrary to guidelines that call on them to render account of their stewardship every 3 months. Richard Kwejo Nyakon visited some of these fishing communities in the central region and has filed the next report.
There have been issues with regards to premix fuel, the distribution and the sale of premix fuel. It has degenerated into a lot of conflicts in this particular community and in the central region as a whole. Fishermen fight over the sale and the distribution of premix fuel. And recently, the president was to appoint members to go on the National Premix Committee, and it generated a lot of heated exchanges.
Some years ago, when Manuma was among the committee, if the premix tanker is coming, the tanker does not reach, the landing beach. The tanker can go on maybe a share filling station. That is what we are saying, diversion. When we go there and buy super to come and feed our generator, we saw the fuel, blue fuel. And premix fuel. Yes, I have a lot of evidence, even on my phone, and I have been with minister's office before. I showed him that evidence, the fuel, and that case is in Elmina police station now.
They should go on investigate those who are old National Premix Committee and including the Landing Beach Committee. The other one to investigate them because we need the money, and we didn't allow anybody to come and steal our money and leave them like that. So we need the minister to come out with investigation so that at the end of the day we can retrieve our money.
Vice presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has returned from the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia.
The pilgrimage, as you may recall, was marred by a stampede that killed over 700 pilgrims. There have been conflicting reports about the number of Ghanaians who died and those unaccounted for. Now, despite the challenges at Mecca, Dr. Bawumia, in an interview with Joy News, says he has returned with a renewed approach to politics.
I was not close to the stampede. I received the news through a phone call that something had happened, and it was just unbelievable. And we didn't know who was involved on that day and so on, so we had to quickly run around to find out what was happening. You know, so many people who were at the Hajj, and if you have a loss of life of over 700 people, it was frightening, and it was a very frightening experience for all of us. Life on this earth is a very temporary existence, very temporary. We're just passing through, and so we should treat each other with respect, care, and dignity, because at the end of the day, we will all die.
Has the Hajj experience changed your perception about politics in Ghana in any way?
Well, as I said, for me, it's just to say that it's important that we keep our eyes on the bigger pictures. Let's try to all work together and achieve a lot for the people of this country.
You didn't answer my question specifically. Has it changed your perception about politics in Ghana?
Oh, well, as I said, for me, it is about how we work together, how we get closer to God and ask for God's, because whatever we want in life, we need God's blessings to be able to get those things. Thank you. Oh, yes, you pray for the whole country. You pray for the leadership of the country. Yes, we pray for everybody so that the Lord God will lead us to prosperity and progress and everything.
Amen. For the news, but other programming and other segments of the show, that is the AM show, please, you know where to log on to. On the social media page, and for which now we're very much about issues of social media. On Facebook, Joy News on TV, which has a link on our Twitter handle as well, Joy News on TV. You get a lot more of those updates as well. So don't worry, just log on to those pages.
Otherwise, you could also go to myjoyonline.com and catch up with some of the segments that you've missed because you have to go somewhere in the middle of the program. When we come back, we're checking out what is trending on the news portals. Please stay with us.
We'll be right back.